Good evening. It's Monday evening, October 15th at 18:36 hours. I'm making this video to bring everybody up to date on my current situation. I currently have been off the road 5 to 6 weeks, and many of you are asking me why I've been off the road for so long. And it's a very fair question. Usually I would type out the answers on Facebook or in an email, but there's so much that's been going on, it's just too much to write. So I thought the best way to get the message out would be through a video. Going back a few weeks, I arrived in Tallahassee, Florida, and had plans to stay in Florida for at least 2 to 3 weeks. I have family down here. Both my parents were buried in Florida, and I have old friends to visit as well. Well, those 3 weeks have led into 6 weeks. I've said since the first day on my march that there are some things you just can't plan for. I spent a year and a half planning this entire route, and within the first couple of weeks I learned that some things, even the best laid plans, fall apart. It can be due to weather, it can be due to finances. Sometimes I'll be stuck in a town. I may be prepared to leave the very next day, and I'll get a phone call asking me to stay for a day or two for interviews, speaking engagements, fundraisers. So that's one reason why my march might be slowed down or stalled for a couple of days. Sometimes it's a family emergency. Sometimes it's my own health. I've had to stop for a couple of weeks because of my heel spur, because of blisters, because of soreness. Again, I'm a 51-year-old U.S. Marine, and this march beats up my body every single day. But I'm not complaining because I love what I'm doing. The reason I've been stopped for so long, again, is something beyond my control. Since my first day that I've been marching over a year ago, I have been under the nonprofit by the name of Project Foot, which is owned and operated by Pat Sherlock. Him and I became, for lack of a better term, business partners within Project Foot. Well, Pat has not been feeling well for the last 2 months. As a matter of fact, he's come down with I don't want to say a disease, but an ailment. He's mostly always in bed. He's always in pain. He can hardly get around anymore. Doctors still don't know what has struck Pat. So he's not as productive, or he's not as in tune with what I'm doing as he was in the beginning. So because of that, and because of the lack of funds coming in, which provide or help us with the operating cost of Project Foot, as well as helping us raise money for wounded and homeless veterans, Pat had to step aside with his foundation, which left me without a nonprofit. And legally that means that I can no longer, or at this time, accept donations because it wouldn't be legal. So that, on top of the fact that, again, the funds have slowed down to a stop, no money means no operating costs, which means no walk at this time. Now, it doesn't mean I'm stopping permanently, because I'm not. I am reaching out to other nonprofits that are willing to help me on this march. I've decided that since we're just a few weeks from the holiday season, that I would halt my march for now. I stopped in Tallahassee, Florida, then went down to Ocala and stayed with my sister for 4 weeks. Since I've decided to stop my march for now, until after the first week of January, I've decided to take this time, spend it more with family, take care of some personal issues, spend time with my daughter, and I've also come out to Kansas to spend time with my girlfriend, Randy Langford. Many of you may know her through Facebook. We've been together for just over a month. We're brand new to each other, and I actually surprised her by coming out yesterday. She had no clue I was coming out here, and working with her sister and brother-in-law, they helped me get out here. So I surprised her yesterday with an appearance. So here's the itinerary for the next few weeks. I will be in Kansas for the next 3 weeks. I will then travel back to Florida for some personal issues. And then the second week of December, I'll be going to Maryland to spend Christmas and New Year's with my daughter. After the first week, no later than the second week of January, I will resume my march from Tallahassee, Florida. Now please understand, as excited as I am to meet and be with Randy, to spend time with my daughter, to spend time with my family and my sister and her family, and to spend holidays with my family and friends, I am somewhat disappointed that I had to stop my march this early into the holiday season. But sometimes things happen beyond your control. I'd like to believe that God has a reason for me to stop now. I don't always understand God's plans, but I know in my heart of hearts that every step that I've taken on this march so far was guided and led by God. For those of you that have been with me since the first day, you see me go through challenge after challenge after challenge, and too many obstacles to mention. And every time I've hit a brick wall, God has been right there to knock that wall out of my way and to continue. And He still does to this day. So I may not understand God's reasoning for this to happen. I may not understand the reason why Pat has been stricken with this illness, or why the donations have slowed down. But I don't question God's motive. I just have faith that He'll take care of me. And He has for over a year. I also want to mention that when I start back up after the first part of January, if things go as I hope they will, and if it's God's will that it'll work, Randy will be joining me on the march. And she'll be joining me the entire time. We're putting our feelers out there for an RV. Now, some of you were offended when I went on Facebook and asked if anyone knew a company or a business or a private individual that would donate or sponsor an RV for us. I apologize if your feelings were hurt, and if you can't understand why an RV would enhance our march versus take anything away from it. So Randy and I are working as a team and try to get this RV as a chase vehicle. Now, the one thing that's been consistent on this march that will never change, I have at least another 5 to 6 years to complete this mission. And there will be many times, just as there have been or has been up to this day, there'll be many times where I have challenges that I don't have an answer for. Again, weather, illness, personal injury. There may be times in the future that I may have to stop for a week or two again. But the one thing that remains consistent is my dedication and my commitment and my seriousness to complete this mission. I don't care if it takes me 15 years. I don't care if I have to stop every couple of weeks for whatever reason. I will complete this mission. If I have to crawl across the finish line on my hands and knees, bloodied, beaten, and battered, I will finish this mission. When I first left on the first day of this mission, I had no sponsors, no real support team, and a few hundred followers. And in the year's time, that has grown to be astronomical. But even if I had no one on board with me right now, even if I didn't have a Randy, if I didn't have a family, if I didn't have a daughter, or friends, or sponsors on board, if I had to walk in Bermuda shorts, flip-flops, and carry my supplies in a Walmart plastic bag, I would still finish this mission. You have my solemn word on that. In closing, I want to thank each and every one of you out there for coming on board and making my walk as successful as it has been. Many of you have crossed my path on Facebook. Many of you on a daily basis send me inspirational and encouraging words, usually Bible verses. Many of you pray for me and for my safety, and I appreciate that. Some of you have donated to our cause, and I love you for that, and I thank you for that. Many of you I've crossed paths literally on this march. I've met you on the roads. I've met you on the sidewalks, through the cities, towns, and huge cities on my walk so far. And a lot of you have a place right here in my heart. You know who you are, and unfortunately there's not enough memory in my card to name everyone's name. Some of you that speak to me now through Facebook or even phone calls and emails, I'll meet further down the road when I get to your city and state. You'll have to forgive me, there's a train in the background, so I hope you can hear me through this train. But in closing, I want to thank everybody for their prayers. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for the bottles of water, the food, the shelter, everything. I've always believed, and I'll continue to believe, that not one single step I take. Let me wait for the train to go by. One moment. See, again, a circumstance you can't control. So I'll sit here for a moment. I'll let the train go by. But this is a great example that God has a good sense of humor. So if you'll bear with me for a moment as this train passes, I will continue my little speech. It's gone. Now, so what I was saying was, every step I take would not be possible if not for all of you. And I owe you all so much. The hills I've had to climb, the storms I've had to march through, the shelter I've needed, you've all been there. And I appreciate that, and I love you very much for that. I owe all of you so much. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If any of you have any questions or comments or suggestions, anybody got a train whistle volume control I can use? One moment, please. Anyway, if any of you have a question or comment or suggestion, or if you ever need to get a hold of me for any reason, please feel free to contact me through Facebook. You can also contact me through... I know that God's laughing right now. You can also contact me through my email, which of course is Mac at baldmanwalking.com, or feel free to call me anytime on my cell phone for stuff like this. You know, I prayed for adventure, and that's exactly what I got. You can call me on my cell phone anytime at 571-208-7735. Again, that's 571-208-7735. Thank you all again for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Keep us in your prayers, and Semper Fi. Baby girl, this is for you. Daddy loves you very much. Mwah. Semper Fi.